Hey, Cassie.
I see
Hey,
them.
Siva.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome, everybody. How are you guys doing today?
Good, good. How are
Doing
you?
well, doing
I
well.
am doing good, doing well here. And I'm in LA right now, so it is kind of gloomy. So we have turtlenecks on today. How's weather where you guys are at? I know we're all checking in from different places.
Well, it's a little chilly here in New York, but it's good. It's nice.
Very cool.
Little
Yeah.
gloomy
Same.
in St. Louis, but we have like the fall foliage, so it makes it, you know,
Very
not as
festive.
terrible.
Nice. And Siva, how about yourself?
I'm close to New York City, New Jersey. It's
Okay.
almost the same weather.
Cool, cool. All right. Well, I'm giving everybody a little minute to jump in. I'm seeing people jump in. So welcome everybody. If you want to drop in where you're showing up from, that'd be great. We can see where everybody's joining from. But thank you for joining us today. We are doing Soho MD's live investor Q&A webinar. So we're going to be hearing directly from the leaders shaping the future of this rapidly growing company. So we have joining us SohoMD CEO Dr. Jacques Jospetri, along with Chief Strategy Officer Cassie DeWalt. And we also are excited to welcome a newly added guest speaker, Siva Nataraja, who is the co-founder of Jago Health. So yeah, this is your chance to hear directly from the people building one of the most comprehensive outcomes-driven mental health platforms in the country. So, yeah, I think we have a good amount of people here. So, yeah, without further ado, I will turn it over to you, Jacques.
Jeanette, thank you so much. Really excited to talk to everyone today about the opportunity in psychiatry, talk a little bit about SohoMD, what we've been doing, how we think about psychiatry, and also talk about our partnership with Jago Health. We have Siva here to do that, as you mentioned. Um, Psychiatry is a big area. Everyone, I think, can relate to it. We see people in our own lives who are suffering. And the thing that always strikes me is, like when you see the news and you see people having issues, people acting up, people who, like a Karen who's overreacting in a Starbucks or someone who's going on a car chase down the street or people who are directed towards incarceration, people who have lots of issues in their lives. All of this is psychiatry. And the fact that there's so many things going on in the world and the fact that people are suffering points to the fact that we haven't figured it out yet as a field. And that's what we're excited about. We think here at SohoMD that we figured out a way to do psychiatry that we can have a true impact, not just on our patients, but on the community at large, and really help to change how people perceive mental health. And by joining us, you can become part of that solution. So we envision psychiatry being a combination with functional medicine and AI, that together that we can truly transform how things work. So let's dive on in. Let me share my screen, which I'm not sharing yet. Let's do that. Oh, let's see here. All right, can everyone see the screen?
Yep.
Let's see. All right, perfect. All right, awesome. So, future of mental health, psychiatry, functional medicine, and AI. So, first, a little bit about me, and then I'll pass it around. So, I'm Jacques Despitri. I'm a psychiatrist, the background in business and technology. I grew up being an avid software developer, C++ assembly, and other things. Went to med school, business school, came out of grad school with that with an MD MBA. I ran a psychiatry department for 4 years. Then I was a medical director at a clinic for 3 years, and those experiences and the limitations of how psychiatry was being done is what inspired me to start this company 14 years ago. Cassie?
Thanks, Jack. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm Cassie DeWalt. I recently joined SohoMD as Chief Strategy Officer. I became familiar with SohoMD last year at a behavioral health conference and instantly fell in love with the model and saw the opportunity for growth. I've been in healthcare over a decade now with a large focus on behavioral health. At my last company, I brought in over 10.2 million in revenue via strategic partnerships with health plans, hospital systems, digital health companies, as well as getting a unique understanding of, the complexities of healthcare in regards to health plans, commercial plans, Medicaid, Medicare, and learning how to negotiate enhanced fee-for-service rates and value-based care programming. I also am a huge advocate for mental health and underserved populations. I sit on a couple of different national advocacy boards for increasing equity in technology as well as for the LGBTQ plus community. So I'm really excited to be here and answer any questions. I'll pass it to Siba.
Hi, nice to meet you all. I'm Siva Nadaraja, co-founder, president of Jogo Health. We are a digital therapeutics company. Also, we raise funds from VFunder. You might remember if any of you joined from the VFunder community. We use electromyography biosensors and a therapeutic application which uses the foundational science of electromyography biofeedback um, for various indications, including chronic pain, migraine, stroke recovery, IBS, IBD, GI conditions, urology conditions, and we have FDA clearance for about now 7 indications. There is synergy between us and SohoMD. That's why we are partnering with them because we see majority of our patients also suffer from mental health conditions, especially in the chronic pain side, and IBS, IBD as well, um, where we were missing a big piece of the puzzle, and we needed to partner with somebody so that we could give comprehensive treatment to our patients so that they don't get bounced around multiple places when they come and see somebody like us. So this is a good synergy for us. Working this allows us, even from clinical perspective as well as for commercial perspective, there's win-win situation for us. So many of you, I see some of the investors that are already Java investors to joining on the site. So many of you already know about us, but we'll walk through when when we go to the slides. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Cassie. Thanks, Siva. The mental health crisis. So as I was mentioning before, we all see the mental health issues around us, right? You don't have to look very far. You see all the headlines going on with kids, with an aging population, just people working multiple jobs, the financial pressure, just everything. And with that, 1 in 5 adults in the country is experiencing mental health issues each year. So that's a really big portion of our population. And what's more concerning is half of them are receiving no care, right? So people are suffering. A lot of them are not getting the care that they need. And at the same time, there was an acceleration of adoption of mental health. So virtual care during COVID really expanded. So there used to be a really massive access problem. So COVID really helped change that because they changed the regulations. They made it easier for people to seek virtual care. And so now virtual care is more accessible. Yet a lot of people aren't getting care. A lot more are getting this virtual care. And the question you might wonder is, so now that more people are getting access to care, are they getting better? Is the solution, has it been found? And I would say no, it hasn't. And that's what creates an opportunity for SohoMD. In terms of the market opportunities, so you see the suffering in terms of people, in terms of the conditions and what they're dealing with, but there's also a massive financial opportunity. The behavioral health market's thought to be over 100 billion and growing at 5 to 6% each year. The virtual portion of that is thought to be about 26 billion this year and expected to grow to 60 billion by 2030. So there's this massive opportunity in virtual care. And at the same time, there's the opportunity is also enhanced by the fact that there's a provider shortage. There are more people who need care than there are providers to meet that care. At the same time, psychiatry was always like a stepchild in healthcare, but eventually there was payer parity where people were forced to pay for mental health at the same level as you would pay for physical health. And also, on the fact that we've also gotten used post-COVID to a remote lifestyle. People are very comfortable with accessing care in the virtual space. So the opportunity for us to do this virtual behavioral health platform exists and it's growing. And so that's what we see as being so tremendous. Other people besides us saw this too, right? Hundreds of millions of dollars were invested into many companies since COVID, and you've seen some of these companies. They've grown into very large organizations. So a lot of resources, a lot of attention has been put into virtual behavioral health. And again, the question is, did they figure it out? Have they solved it? And even though all this money has been spent, even though all these really smart people have been really focusing on solving the behavioral health issue that we have in this country, they might have missed something. And they might have missed something that SohoMD has been really focusing on, and that's how to do psychiatry in a way that we could maybe have a greater and more substantial impact on patient lives. Mental and physical health, they're treated differently, right? They're treated in silos. You see the primary care for your physical issues, you see the psychiatrist or behavioral health provider for your mental health issues, and they usually don't talk to each other. If you have any mental health needs, you get a prescription, you get medications, and it's not tied back into all the things that might be medically going on with you. And this fragmented care, it's kind of the norm, it's the standard. And we know that 70% of patients with mental health conditions also have physical health conditions, but they're not put together, they're not fully integrated. When it comes to having this mental health that's disconnected with physical conditions, we know that it impairs just the quality of life for the patient, but it also even shows up in a higher mortality rate, which is substantial for people who are suffering from both mental and physical conditions. And in terms of the current solutions that exist in the marketplace, with all that money that was invested, a lot of them are doing talk therapy. Some are doing talk therapy and psychiatry, where you're looking at medications. But a lot of them are missing this massive opportunity with nutrition support and lifestyle guidance. And that's something that's unique to SohoMD that we created to combine it to, again, give patients better clinical outcomes. So let me take a step back and talk about the experience with SohoMD. So when we started, so it started 14 years ago. I came out of the hospital, I came out of the clinic, and there was some frustration where I thought we could do psychiatry better. We have the guidelines, let's make it affordable. Most private psychiatrists were out of pocket, meaning you had to pay a lot of money for your visit. And there was just this total disconnect between being able to make it accessible and affordable for people and having high quality. And we thought there has to be a way to put those two pieces together. And so we did that 14 years ago. We focused on the APA guidelines, making sure we followed the American Psychiatric Association best practices for care, and at the same time being in network with insurance payers so that people could afford to use their insurance and get the care that they needed. And so that combination led to this great platform that was expanding. We had a location in New York, New Jersey. We started doing a hybrid care, doing both in person and virtual. And we're treating lots of patients and we're making a lot of progress. We're growing as an organization. But what we found is that there were patients who weren't getting better. We're following the standard guidelines. We're following what it says to do. But it turns out that when it comes to SSRIs and SNRIs, medications that are typically used for depression, for anxiety, the response rate is like 30–40%. So 60–70% of the people are expected not to respond to that care. And then you have to get into polypharmacy. We're using multiple medications and you're trying them on different medications. But a good portion of people don't respond. And when you're treating lots of people, that becomes very frustrating, especially if you're someone who is really pursuing clinical excellence and you're saying, we're doing everything you're supposed to do, but patients aren't getting better as much as we think that they should. And that's what got us into looking at what else was out there. And that led to integrative health and functional medicine. So we started exploring ways that you could look at people's medical conditions, you could start working them up. And they're things that were very easy to do. And it turns out a lot of these thoughts and a lot of these ideas they were taught in medical school. So they're taught there, but they actually didn't translate into day-to-day care. And the genius of what we did with our group at SohoMD is we realized that there were some basic things that we could do in terms of nutrition and endocrinology, which significantly enhanced the work that we're doing in psychiatry. So everyone else is just doing psychiatry, looking at the DSM, which is a list of symptoms, and then you get a prescription for medication or for therapy, and they ignored these other things. And what's so fascinating is that nutritional issues, if you look in the Merck manual, the Harrison Guide to Internal Medicine, there are clear psychiatric symptoms that are tied to nutritional issues. In those same books, if you look at endocrine issues, there are endocrine issues that are tied to psychiatric symptoms. Yet, when it comes to day-to-day care in psychiatry, psychiatrists are not thinking about this. And what we did at SohoMD is we said, you know what, this is medicine. We should put our stethoscopes back on. We should be thinking as doctors, and we need to incorporate this information into psychiatry. And that's what we did and created a clinical model with functional medicine, where functional medicine typically is not covered by insurance. It's very expensive. It's not accessible to the average person. We found a way to incorporate that approach, this functional medicine approach, and do it in a scalable, affordable way where it became part of our bread and butter psychiatry. not something that needed to be separate, that it's a separate special thing. But we just said this is good, solid medicine being practiced in psychiatry. And that's what we did. So we created that. And on the therapy side, we also realized that a lot of therapists are doing CBT. They have a very narrow window in terms of how they're thinking about therapy. And what we said is, you know what, let's expand that toolbox for them. Let's give them a lot more tools for trauma because it turns out when a lot of people have, you can have major traumas, but you can also have small traumas, times that you're very embarrassed, times that you felt overwhelmed. All those things are really, they leave an emotional scar and an emotional mark where you might not get through it with standard approaches that you take in therapy, but when you're able to incorporate the trauma-informed approach, you're able to help the patient break through that scar tissue, that emotional scar tissue, and see real progress in their care. And so the same work that we did on the prescribing side to enhance clinical quality, we did the same thing on the therapy side to enhance that. And then we put those two pieces together into this incredibly high quality clinical model, which became the hallmark of what SohoMD does. And with that, we saw great clinical outcomes. And this isn't unique to us. Other people, when you combine the functional medicine approach with standard psychopharm, you get much higher response rates for patients, which makes sense. If a patient has an issue and there's some medical problem going on and you're just throwing medications at it, the medication doesn't fix the underlying issue. You can think of it like if you have pain in your arm and the only thing I can give you is aspirin or Tylenol, that helps with the pain. But if the pain is related to an infection, that's a different issue. If it's related to some sort of immune response, it's a different issue. It could be related to, a trauma, that there's a broken bone. Again, so there are multiple things that might be causing the pain. If my approach is simply blocking the pain and I took care of the pain, that's not the same as understanding what was causing the pain in the first place, addressing that. So I'll give you the pain medication, but I'm also going to try to understand what caused that problem, and we're going to fix it in combination with treating the pain. And that's what this notion of combining functional medicine with psychopharm does. We help you with the symptoms according to the psychiatric guidelines, but we also try to understand, well, what's causing that? In some cases, we don't know. It's not like we figured out all of the psychiatric conditions, but for a lot of them, there are clear medical connections between that presentation. And what we say is we need to look a little bit deeper and figure out how we could fix it. So we fix it and we give you the standard psychopharm. And that's what's so unique about what we do. We do that here and we do it at scale. And our patients really benefited from that. We've treated over 70,000 patients. We've had, over 850,000 visits. So this has been something that we've been doing with lots and lots of patients, seeing great responses in this approach of combining functional medicine with psychiatry. And typically, most patients were going to practices 3 to 4 times. At SohoMD, they were coming 12 to 13 times. So our engagement with patients was huge, and in large part because what we did was different. A lot of them had been in care before, and we did things that no one else ever did, like a psychiatrist sending labs or therapists going into the trauma approach and asking them questions that related to things that they hadn't talked about with anyone else. So that unique experience really drew people in, and they started seeing some real outcomes that were really positive and strong from the work that they did with our clinicians. That was the model of care that we created, and that's what led to this success. And in terms of the ratings from patients, they presented over and over again, and they also gave us very high ratings in terms of their clinical experience. We see what we've done, we have our success, and what we're looking for in terms of our future is really focusing on these areas. We want to look at adding more providers, right? Expanding our network. We want to enhance our sales and marketing effort, the sales and marketing team, to be able to let patients know and let the world know this model of care is here for you. It costs the same as any other provider, but you're going to get something special when you come to SohoMD. We envisioned that we can leverage AI, so we created this clinical approach. We want to embed it into an AI system and create something called a clinical decision support tool, which then takes a clinician who's not trained in functional medicine and gives them guidance and support to make the right choices in terms of the diagnostic workup for the patient, but also the treatment plan. And AI can facilitate both. And then as we're coming up with all these solutions, doing all these wonderful things, we want to protect it, right? We want to develop some IP so that all this unique way, this unique approach to care that we're doing in psychiatry, that we build a moat around us, that as we embed it into AI, that it's something that's truly unique to our platform. And the services that we would be adding, so we already do therapy and psychiatry. We want to add wearable technologies for remote patient monitoring, and that becomes incredibly important data that we can combine with our functional medicine data into some meaningful ways of both diagnosing and monitoring and being proactive with patients. We want to also add additional provider types, nutrition and endocrine. Those are two areas that we're already doing, but we can add those provider types onto our platform to further enhance the functional medicine work that we do, and also have app subscriptions. So we have apps that we've developed, getting them out in the marketplace and allowing people to be able to subscribe to different features on it. We have some supplements that we've offered. We have a multivitamin that we created. So expanding the supplements that help to optimize your brain health and also getting into more devices and tech. And then historically, we've been in multiple health plans. We have contracts with which Cassie will talk about and self-pay, but we also are looking to add further partnerships with employers, Medicaid, Medicare, and we see that as a massive opportunity for future growth. Cassie?
Thanks, Jack. Well, as I mentioned in my introduction, when I met Jacques, I immediately saw the opportunity for growth as we're entering this new chapter in SohoMD. And because of that, this chart just kind of overviews the story. So great growth in the past. We're in a position now where we are recalibrating. And then from there, we have an amazing plan for an insane amount of growth. So with that plan, we would, as Jacques was mentioning, increase access in terms of the health plan coverage. So entering into more contracts with commercial plans into new states and expanding the depth in the current states that we're in, as well as entering into Medicaid contracts and Medicare contracts. We will also be partnering more so with other types of strategic partnerships in order to get patients in the door. Historically, with the 70 patients we've treated, those have all come from payer portals, word of mouth, or a ZocDoc. That is almost unheard of for me after working in this space almost 10 years. So that immediately just, gives me so much excitement in terms of expanding access via those partnerships. So we will immediately start doing that. And then the AI piece, of course. So taking the, 10 to 14 years of data and this proprietary clinical model that we've put together, and then training a AI clinical decision support tool to then increase access to this knowledge for other providers. So really democratizing this approach, and in tune will then allow us to increase revenue in a very substantial way. And for, someone who is very much a health equity advocate, and how can we integrate technology within that? That's just very exciting to me. So yeah, I will stop there. We can
Awesome.
go to the next slide in case
Thanks,
anyone
Kathy.
wants to add anything else. Yeah.
Yeah. And Siva?
Yeah. Hi. So Jago basically is a electromyography-based feedback system. A little bit of history of the company. It was developed by two researchers in New York. One was a Dr. Joseph Brodney. That's where the name JO comes from for the Jago. Dr. Joseph Brodney was a celebrated neurologist at NYU and a physical medicine and rehabilitation doctor. So in the 1960s, he wrote a seminal paper that sensory feedback therapy can treat CNS disorders much better than medications. He was given the Galileo treatment back in the 60s. People thought he was crazy. He started publishing a lot of data. Then he paired up with another researcher, cognitive neuroscientist, and an engineer called Gordon Silverman. Gordon is still teaching AI at Columbia. Both of them went to IBM and built a machine back in the 70s where they could demonstrate that this technology can treat patients would otherwise wouldn't recover from stroke, traumatic brain injury, and various neurological disorders, where they were able to successfully demonstrate this. Since they were physicians, they could not get this product out to the market. They didn't have the skill sets. So the product was sitting there. A few other companies tried to develop certain other versions of it. Nobody was successful in getting a product that's into the market. So that's when years went by, and then we got involved. And finally, we have this product where everything that Dr. Brodney worked on and so much of literature that he has published over the years and his students who published over the years have been all put into this. It's a digital therapeutic. If you are familiar with digital therapeutics, majority of the work happens through software. It's a new category that FDA created in 2016, 2017. Now there's a whole pathway. So you have drugs, you have medical device, then you have digital therapeutics. So this falls into digital therapeutics, although it has a hardware component. It's been currently approved by FDA to treat various indications, major conditions that we currently focus on is tension, type headache, chronic pain in general, and then cancer pain, and also IBS, IBD in gastro, incontinence, and to some extent stroke also, because we can't launch everything in at one shot. We've been extremely successful. We recently raised $16 million of funding. Some of it came from WeFunder. We are also a company that's funded by Mayo Clinic. Mayo Clinic is one of the largest investors in us. Also, the state of New Jersey is one of the investors. And I am also personally invested in the company. This is my second company. I had an exit before. I sold my last company. So we have a very good commercial team. I was in the launch team of Botox in the past as one of the early uh, employees or consultants to Allergan, which launched Botox and 52 other drugs. So I kind of have the market commercial background, and that's what I brought to the company. And the reason we are talking today is because when we went to market, we saw there is an opportunity to add mental health, digital mental health, very specifically to our patients, because two-thirds of our patients who suffer from one of the conditions, it could be migraines or even pelvic floor conditions like IBS, IBD, incontinence, they also suffer from mental health conditions. And if without addressing the mental health condition, you are actually addressing only one piece of the puzzle when the patient still could we need help. And more the bodies of Headache Society and IBS Society and Gastro Society are all saying that you need to give this comprehensive. It's a grade A recommendation right now that you have to include biobehavior therapy for these patients so that they will be taken care of as a whole before you inject drugs on them. And then you go patients who are suffering from migraines. There are 45 million migraine sufferers in this country. Many of them are children, and many of them are about to start families. And the newer drugs that we have, including Botox, that stays on the bloodstream and that creates all kinds of problems for children that are born. The CGRP inhibitors that are one of the major drugs that are injected into migraine patients that has a black box warning now, right? So they need non-invasive treatments. So, although this has been recommended as a first-line therapy for many, many years, wrapping around these mental health services around this, we think we can reduce unnecessary medications and ER visits in this space. So then on top of it, Dr. J, SohoMD has really good contracts with the payers. That's one of the things we as a company were struggling to get national contracts with payers. So that also is an added benefit in addition to using his providers. And the interesting thing is some of the codes that we build for, we need providers that are in the mental health space. So since this falls into electromyography biofeedback, clinical social workers, clinical psychiatrists, clinical psychologists can deliver our service. So we don't need to add new staff. We can actually tap into Dr. J's staff. So there's a lot of synergy in this, and that's where we are partnering. And we're getting prescriptions from all the major headache centers, so including Mayo Clinic, Mount Sinai. This is on the migraine side. Then recently we got the American Gastro Association as Jago Health as an innovative solution, and we are going to be inside pretty much all gastro clinics for IBS, IBD, and chronic constipation patients, and that's another 40 million patients we are talking about in this country. So think about those two just alone, migraine and headaches, not 47 million patients in the country, and another IBS, IBD, 47 million patients. We haven't even talked about stroke yet. Stroke depression is another big thing that we see in patients. When we see stroke patients, the moment someone has a stroke, I mean, if God forbid, none of us will have one, but in case you would see that, they immediately go down mentally because they have just lost their entire life. And when we start treating these patients, we notice, hey, these guys really they need mental health support because they're depressed. And some of them refuse therapy or treatment because they think their life is gone, right? So they need to get them back. So every single country, and then the incontinence. Think of somebody suffering from urinary incontinence, embarrassed to go to a meeting, and they suffer from depression, anxiety. So we see in every single one of our conditions that we touch, mental health being a big thing, and it's commercially it's a good play for us also to double down, and it's a win-win situation. So that's basically what we have. So we have, as you see, major institutions are invested in Jago Health. Major institutions are endorsed Jago Health. I mean, last week just won the American Telemedicine Association Award for the most innovative solution given by 7 health systems. These are like top health systems in this country chose Jago as an innovative solution. They have never seen anything like this. So we can see that the excitement around it, and this partnership would just allow us to basically deliver the comprehensive care that we were supposed to deliver to patients instead of just doing one single thing. And you see any patients, they don't want to be seen at 10 different places for something that they could get at one place. And we all patients, right? We all patients. We know that how it feels. You don't need 10 bills coming from 10 different providers. That itself creates anxiety in this country. So that's basically my one slide. So if you have any questions, we will answer it.
Yeah, yeah, well, and we'll get into that. Yeah, thank you, Cassie. Thank you, Siva. For the 80% of migraines, it's triggered by stress, right? So when you're thinking about migraines, it's mental health, it's stress. And then once you have the migraine, in terms of addressing and alleviating that pain, Jago created this phenomenal patented solution towards a non-pharmacological intervention to address migraine pain. And the use of their device is being used in parallel with therapists. So SohoMD has the therapist, Jago has this patented, unique solution for migraine pain, and that's where we're able to partner. So we partner where they've developed this amazing technology. We have the therapist who can leverage that technology. So SohoMD can do the prevention in terms of helping with the stress and the 80% of the trigger, and then help with actually addressing the pain, which is this alternative intervention. And before I mention how so much of medicine is siloed, where they're going to go for the medical issue there, and then someone else over here is going to take care of the mental health. This partnership with Jago is all about that same concept of how do you reintegrate the different pieces of medicine for the patient to have the best outcome. The patient doesn't need to get a device here and then talk to a separate therapist. They need this unification because the focus is about making their quality of life get better, taking care of that migraine pain, preventing it, solving it. And that's what partnerships like this help achieve. And so we have best in class for behavioral health. Jago has best in class for migraine treatment. And that's what makes this so meaningful and powerful. So we're very excited about this joint effort around migraines.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. If I could share one small one slide, if you
oh,
could
absolutely.
one
Absolutely.
slide.
Let
Yeah.
me
Yeah, I got it. So this is Blue Cross Blue Shield, right? Um, of California. They just put this out there. So in 2021, American Headache Society said that biopsychosocial treatments, right? Biobehavioral treatments should be grade A. That's grade A evidence. You don't get grade A evidence for medications, right? So basically, these patients really need this. You can see that this is society, American Headache Society, which basically is the um, uh, truth for headache treatment, said biobehavior treatment should be grade A. We have grade A evidence, but they're not given right now. So how many migraine patients go through biobehavior treatments? So that's kind of says that why it's so important that we don't have. I mean, yesterday I spoke to a headache specialist and he said we all knew about it, but we don't have a place to send. right? That's kind of interesting. They say that. Where do we send patients for job therapy and cognitive behavior therapy together, right? There's no place to send. We don't want to send it to two different places. We want to send it to one place. So this is coming from folks who are just writing these guidelines. And you could say, folks who are in medicine, they know grade A evidence means, grade A recommendation means the insurance companies think this is the best treatment for something. They don't give grade A for medications, rarely. They give. So
Yeah. So absolutely. So in summary, and then we'll go into Q&A. So in summary, so SohoMD has been around for 14 years. We're a well-known organization. We pioneered doing functional medicine at scale in psychiatry, getting great clinical outcomes for patients by combining strong evidence base around, around looking at nutrition and endocrine issues, in addition to standard psychopharm. The company to date has been self-funded. This is the first time we're looking at outside investors in terms of expanding the platform, adding additional AI tools, and then really developing some intellectual property around that. And we're very excited about taking our model of care and combining it with solutions like Jago, which just creates new opportunities for us and great potential outcomes for patients. So with that, we'll open it up to questions.
Thank you, Jacques. That was a great summary. And Cassie and Siva, thank you so much for going over those slides. I feel like maybe this first question might tie into that summary. And anybody in the crowd, we do have a Q&A section, so please drop in your questions and we'll be able to answer them. But the first one that came in is talking about your immense growth over the past 5 years, which has been 173%. And so the question is, what were the primary drivers behind that acceleration?
Yeah. I think the biggest, thank you for the question. The biggest one was quality of care. So meaning, how do you have an experience for patients where you're really invested in their improvement? And it's not just saying, coming in, here's your refill, I'll see you in a month, but really looking at the labs, trying to understand a holistic picture of the patient. So you come up with a treatment plan that's very effective and really targeted towards the patient's needs. And when you do that, patients respond because they feel and they see the difference. And so with that, we saw patients improving. Some patients who we got them off psychiatry completely, like people who might have thought who were bipolar but turned out to have thyroid dysfunction, or people who had other issues that were really driving their mental health issues. So when you do that, you create a reputation for really high quality where patients refer other patients to you, where primary care doctors refer, if they have one patient going to you, they refer more patients to you. So that was really what drove it. And providers who weren't taught or trained in this area or this approach to care, they were excited about being on a platform that really enhanced the work that they were doing. So they came out more informed and more advanced clinically after working at SohoMD than before they started. So I think all those things were part of what helped to drive the growth.
Great, awesome. The next question that's coming in is, how does SohoMD differentiate itself from other mental health platforms in terms of clinical outcomes and patient satisfaction? Also, maybe ties
Yeah,
kind of.
it's a great question too. We differentiate ourselves by doing functional medicine with psychiatry. So the APA guidelines is basic. That's bread and butter psychiatry. We do that left to right and center. Like that's the foundation of what we do. That's based on the DSM, but we also do this functional medicine where we're looking at the medical causes of those psychiatric symptoms. We're the only ones doing that at scale. It's truly unique in
That's
our
what
approach.
really, sorry to interrupt, but drove me to want to join the SohoMD team was that functional medicine approach. I've become somewhat of an expert in terms of the digital mental health landscape, and there is only one other company that doesn't, and they don't have a functional medicine approach, but they are incorporating some nutrition in their model. However, their model is a more of a like 10 to 12 week model, and then the patient leaves the treatment. So this is the only, virtual outpatient combining functional medicine with mental health at scale, and that is such a huge differentiator between all the other digital mental health companies, which there are very many.
Okay, great. So we have another question coming in from Ulrich, and it says, great presentation. Any plans to expand your services to graduate medical education, specifically partnering with residency programs?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're on a mission to improve psychiatry. So, when I started off, I was talking about what we see on the news, right? Or what we see in our lives where or even like the criminal justice system, so that there's a misunderstanding of behavioral health in terms of what it means, the stigma, and when you take an approach that really focuses on making a much more robust way to build a differential diagnostic list for patients, this is something that we see that should go to all the educational programs. So we're definitely very interested and invested in pursuing that mission because it's not just how we practice psychiatry. We'd like to have an impact on how everyone practices psychiatry. And so being able to have the next generation of providers get this and implement it, it makes the world a better place. And so, as we get more resources, it opens us up to doing that. To date, we've been self-funded, so we've really had to be efficient with our time. But as we have more resources, it really, those are things that we would be very interested in participating in.
Mhm. Awesome. All right. The next question we have here is what new technology or product innovations are you prioritizing to enhance care delivery and patient engagement?
The AI, so the CDS tool that I mentioned and Cassie mentioned, so clinical decision support tool. So now when you want an AI stack, you don't have to worry about writing all the software from scratch. You can get an AI stack that you basically have to have the data set that you're training it with. So we would focus on training an AI solution that we would tie back into our medical record system, and that in developing IP, some intellectual property protection around that. But that would be the focus of our attention, where we can immediately take clinicians who don't have this approach, don't have this training in terms of how to apply it to psychiatry. We would create a solution that would help guide them to really be thorough in their approach to care. And we would expect that it would have a direct impact on the clinical quality of what's being delivered. So all of our initial tech focus would really be based around that project.
Mhm. Okay, great. This question is asking more about the revenue model. So asking, can you walk us through SohoMD's revenue model and how clinical scalability drives margins?
Yeah, a great question. And I think Cassie had mentioned, and Steve also, how we have national contracts. So we have national payer contracts, right? So we have a certain rate that we get for the work that we do. And then there's an industry expectation in terms of salary that we're paying for different provider types. So the margin between our provider contracts and what the market will bear in terms of what we're paying, that separation, that difference, that's our profitability. So because we have national payer contracts, we can scale up aggressively by adding providers because the rate allows us to maintain a margin as we scale. So that's really, what allows us to have the growth that we're looking to have.
And
Mhm.
because of the uniqueness of the model, the opportunity for negotiating enhanced rates and going into more innovative contracts, value-based contracts, we have more leverage to do that because we have the outcomes and we have a model that touches other specialties that cost health plans lots of money that they will want to save. So.
Okay, awesome. I am going to drop the WeFunder link in the chat. So this is an investor Q&A. We are currently raising funds on WeFunder. So I am dropping this link in the chat. A question regarding the raise is how will capital raised through this crowdfunding effort round be allocated?
Yeah, so that you can look at the WeFunder page. It'll talk about the allocation. So it gives specifics on it there in terms of what the expectation is.
Okay. All right, sounds good. Are there any investor perks, early bird benefits that early investors can look to benefit from?
Yeah. I think again it's outlined on the page, but the early bird there's additional terms, so that up to a certain level there's an additional discount as outlined in the WeFunder page, and for people over a certain amount that they'll get VIP question line basically, and that again is specified on the WeFunder page. So there is an advantage to being early, and there's an advantage to giving a certain amount to gain those perks.
Mhm. Okay, cool. Let's see, we have a few more questions here, and then we will be wrapping up. What makes SohoMD's 14 years of clinical IP unique and defensible against competitors?
Really great question. It's what the IP that really will be incredibly valuable is the IP that we're going to develop with the AI. It's 14 years of experience of how to do psychiatry, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. The 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 ideas that we have far exceed what we've implemented. We've implemented what we've done thus far with no capital. Some of our competitors have had hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars that they've gotten to spend to build into what they are today. SohoMD was built with no outside funding. It was built brick by brick. And so there's so many ideas that we want to implement. There's so many things we want to do. And the IP is not, so we have the 14 years of data, but the IP is going to be in what we're going to be doing for the next years. As we're putting it out, as we're taking things from what we've learned over that time and embedding it into the AI, that's what we want to protect. And that's coming down the pike. That's something that will be evolving. And that's what we're excited about.
Very cool. All right. How does SohoMD compare to other major telepsychiatry and telehealth competitors in terms of cost, outcomes, and scalability?
Um, So in terms of cost, the cost is comparable because for the patient, we're in network. So anyone else who's in network, some of them are self-pay, so you have to pay out of pocket, but we're in network provider, so that it's affordable and accessible to most patients. As far as scalability, we have national contracts, so we're able to add providers all over the country. So we really are positioned to have significant, tremendous growth. And as I mentioned before, the rates we have and what we pay providers, that margin is what allows us to scale aggressively. And what was the third component of that question?
I think it was, let me double check. Well, it was outcomes and scalability.
Yeah, in terms of outcomes, so in terms of clinical outcomes, we're already doing the APA guidelines, but it's enhanced by the functional medicine. So just the clinical outcomes are just better because we have a more robust approach to care. So we're doing the basics and the other stuff. So we have all the different pieces, and that's what we're excited about having Cassie here, where she understands how to take the value proposition we're bringing to the table and develop those partnerships with the payers because we help save them money. We help them get, the work that what they're trying to achieve in terms of getting greater health outcomes for their patients, decrease cost of care. We were built from that from day one. And we were built from that because we focus the business around clinical priorities and not just financial incentives. So the things you can do financially to make money that have no clinical benefit. This company was built all around doing what was clinically best for patients. And that's what everyone's saying they want to do now. We've been doing that for 14 years. We've been doing that since the day we started the company. And so we're really going to have a lot of wonderful opportunity when it comes to these value-based arrangements. And that's why we're excited about that partnership on migraines with Jago, because we're built for the quality outcomes and Jago has the solution. And that's why, we expect payers to be very excited about what we're able to offer them today.
When you talk about quality outcomes too, in comparison with the many other digital health companies, digital mental health companies out there, I mean, you can even say digital health. SohoMD is one of the few digital mental health companies that is clinician founded and led. There are plenty that are clinician founded, but now led by private equity leaders or leaders from other specialties that don't understand the complexities of behavioral health. And it makes a huge difference. So, everything that Jacques just explained is because he is a clinician and he has the experience and has been boots on the ground himself treating patients, so he has that unique understanding, which is something I look for. I will only ever work for a company that is clinician led if we are delivering healthcare services.
Yeah, totally understandable. How does this crowdfunding round fit into your longer term fundraising or exit strategy?
Yeah, not so much an exit strategy. Exit at some point. I don't want to speculate, but the point is, we'll see, what makes sense in the future. But the real focus and whatever we do would always tie into our mission of enhancing high quality psychiatric care and making it affordable and accessible to the masses. That's kind of the mission that we're on. So whatever we do should always lean into that mission. But how the crowdfunding fits is that, we have other conversations going. So just like Siva mentioned, that WeFunder was a key part of their investment, of their investor strategy, meaning they had some investors outside of WeFunder and some investors in WeFunder. We're doing something similar as most companies on WeFunder do, especially the larger ones like us, that, you have a combination of the WeFunder crowdfunding resource plus other private investors. And so we see those two things being very complementary, and also building this sort of group in this community of with a shared mission, right? Who really understand what we're trying to do, who really believe in it and want to also pursue this way to improve the world. So we see this as an important part of the evolution of the company, and we love the idea of just having other people participating and being on this journey with us. And so we see the two things, the private investor plus the WeFunder investor as being very complementary roles.
Nice. Okay, so we are nearing the end of our webinar, and I kind of want to do a roundtable. We are looking for investors, as mentioned. Drop the WeFunder link in the chat. But I would love to know, in your own words, what are your top reasons to invest in SohoMD? Cassie, we'll start with you.
I was about to say, are you
Yeah.
asking the top reasons to invest? Jacques has shared all of this incredible growth coming from, a company that has been self-funded. Now we're at a point where we have a team that has worked at these other companies that have, leveraged millions, hundreds of millions of dollars and have grown that much as well. So that's one reason. The team is there. We're excited. This is a whole new chapter, and the opportunity is, really, really huge to make a positive impact. Um, the model is unique. It is very differentiated in the space, and there's opportunity to expand via other providers and other specialties. Um, it's hard to find. It is a crowded space, and it's hard to find companies that really get it, that are clinician led, that are quality focused, that are walking the walk, not just talking the talk. And so that is a huge reason. It's probably very overwhelming if you're an investor and you look at the healthcare space and mental health and, because of COVID and the insane demand for services, there's so many different companies that have popped out. I know that, and it can be overwhelming. And so just knowing that you're investing in a company that is prioritizing quality and that is truly differentiated in the space.
Awesome. Jacques, top
Yeah.
three reasons.
Top three reasons. Number one is we've been doing this for 14 years. We have very deep roots, right? You want a tree to grow tall, you want it to be strong, you want the roots to be deep. And the deeper the roots, the bigger that tree can grow. So that's us. We pioneered things not because we had tons of capital to burn, but because we were driven by making the lives of our patients better. And that was really the fuel that drove us to really create all the wonderful things that the company has created. I think the second thing is, just in terms of innovation, we have a clear path of what to do with AI. So AI is revolutionizing everything. Every field, every domain is going to change because of AI. And and we have ideas that are, over the past decade plus, 14 plus years, in terms of how to enhance psychiatry so that it's more efficient, that it's more effective, that we really change and transform patient lives. So the ability of how to leverage AI effectively, we're very uniquely positioned to do that because we've been doing what we've been doing for so long and taking this quality approach for so long that we have a first mover advantage to get that to build it and protect it in AI. So I think that that's a unique time, a unique transformation happening in society, in the field, and very, very excited about some of the things that we're planning. Um, and then the third thing, I think Cassie hit on it, is the team. We've put together a phenomenal executive team, both internally and externally, with people like Siva and Jago, where we just have a phenomenal team who have the experience in the industry, have a track record of success, who understand how to scale something, how to build something, how to make it successful. So all those things, the lessons that have been learned over the years from things that from the things that we've done. So we've learned a lot, but that's led to this team that we have together. And so you're investing in the people who really have the track record to make this happen. And so you combine those people with the capital resources, we're going to really knock it, we're going to do well. And other people have burned through a lot of money. But we expect that the group of people that we expect great things from our group. You're muted, Jeanette.
Yeah, so I will do my top three. I know you're muted. So as I was mentioning in the beginning, you're going to see a unique company here which incorporates products like ours, which are cutting edge. Currently, we don't have any competition. It's going to take some time for people to get FDA approval. It's not easy like other industry. When a product gets approved, incorporating uniquely, right? So you asked about how you differentiate previously. So that, I mean, he's differentiating already by adding a very unique product. And right now, we don't have any other mental health provider company that partnered with us, right? So Jack was the first one to accept the fact that hey, this makes sense, right? So it kind of shows his clinical knowledge in this space. That's number one. Number two, me being also, although not directly part of SohoMD now, we are very closely joined at the hip. I have done exits before. I've sold multi-million dollar companies. I've taken one company public, which is currently valued about $42 billion as IQVIA. I was part of the team that took public. Company makes about $17 billion in revenue. So I know how to get these things to the IPO market in case that makes sense in the future, which we don't know how we will integrate together. So I have that experience, the capital market. And the third is I have experience in launching these major drugs and doing major partnerships, right? In the past. So if you look at IQVIA and NVIDIA just announced a partnership. So that's how big these companies are. We could get to these larger deals and bigger partnerships. That's what I bring in why you should invest since we are joined at the hip at this point. So I will leave it there.
This is awesome. Well, this has been so much fun. Once again, I am dropping the WeFunder link. So wefunder.com/SohoMD. There are more questions. If you have them, you can find out there. You can also probably reach out to any of the team members here within WeFunder. There's a Q&A section there, a discussion section. But this has been fun. Thank you guys so much. And we will see you soon.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks,
Thank you.
Jeanette. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for joining.
Thanks,
Everyone.
Cassie.
Thanks.